Good evening. Welcome to another amusing version of Diatribe from the voice of Doom. Now here's your ambiguous and ambivalent host, voice of Doom. After Gang of Four, had to think of a song that had to do with leisure. And I'm going to do another diatribe. First, I'm going to apologize for the last one. Woody and I drank quite a bit before we did our diatribe. And it helped because we stopped arguing about politics after about the 7th or 8th shot and started arguing about, I don't know, golf scores or something, I don't know. But I wasn't that coherent when I did the diatribe, and I think I might have offended my fan. I hope not, because it's the last thing I want to do. Because I only have one or two people that kind of care and kind of enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm going to take it for granted that they are enjoying it. So I would not want to do anything that's insulting, but as anyone knows who's had a few, sometimes you just say things, and usually I just post it, so I'm sorry for whatever I might have done. You might be wondering about my outfit today. The hat is a trademark, but I decided since I was going to wear this over jacket, it had a hood on it, and so I thought I'd wear the hood for a change because I wanted to dress like what I would dress as if I was John Fetterman, because, you know, I'm covering a lot of bases. I got a brightly colored rainbow hoodie, which can, you know, relate to many, many, many voters. Because we know people that wear hoodies can't wait to vote. And so this is kind of a pun. But I thought I'd leave it on, just a different thing, you know. I mean, if I could take it off, but I'll just leave it. I'm kind of like a monk that's gone amok. A monk that's gone amok. But I'm going to kind of lighten the tone a bit since we've had two serious diatribes. One with a sitting congressman. Well, he was sitting for sure after a while because he couldn't stand. And my professionals that came in to explain the new trends in biology class and libraries in school. So since I was kind of heavy, and I thought I'd lighten it up a bit and talk about sports and leisure. By sports, I mean games that have teams that play against each other, and they're both trying to win. It's not like the old days where in wrestling where everything was preordained, the ending, and it was choreographed. Most sports nowadays, people are trying to win. Now, it could be an individual sport, it could be a team sport. But I also wanted to touch on leisure, and by leisure I mean visual stimulation such as movies, television, and commercials. Which, a commercial is not something you do for leisure, but you end up watching them and they tell you what you should be doing. You should go out and buy a very, very nice luxury yacht, because you can get them if you just click on the banner. I will not talk about current events right now because not much is happening. I mean, I can talk about NATO bombing Russia proper, and I could talk about NATO beginning to make signs that they are going to send aircraft to protect Ukraine. I guess I didn't hear no-fly zone, but If NATO planes start shooting down Russian planes, I think there's going to be a bit of a problem, and I think there's going to be a bit of a problem anyway, but just wait and see how it all pans out first before we delve into that subject. Because I think things are going to get worse before they get better, because I don't see any way to get better, because I don't want it to get better. That's obvious. So let's get into this sports and leisure thing before I waste the whole period talking about what I'm not going to talk about. Okay, sports. Now, like I said, people want to win. The team wants to win. In order to do that, they have to get the best possible people they can get on the team. That is obvious. You don't just say, I want to be fair. I want to give the skinny guy a chance, even though he can't play football for crap. We can't be discriminating. No, football, baseball, basketball, top 3 sports in America, or what used to be. They want the best people. Now, like I said before, this has been a theory of mine, and it's not really a theory, it's just an observation, is that in the feudal era, when we had kingdoms and principalities and fiefdoms, we always had a leader who had his lieutenants or hers, or whatever they were, lieutenants, and you had, a hierarchy of people. You had the merchants, you had the traders, you had the, tradesmen and whatever, and you had the peasants, and you had the people that had to pull the crops, like Pelosi wanted. But in the kingdom, they had the jesters, and they had the gladiators. Let's talk about ancient Rome. Jesters entertained the king. They did not live in luxury. They were just lucky to live in the castle and entertain the king. The gladiators entertained the people and entertained the aristocracy, and they didn't have the best lifestyle either. Now, let's move forward to the 21st century. The gladiators and jesters are calling the shots. The gladiators and jesters are making the most money, and the gladiators and jesters are the biggest influencers. And the kings are meaningless. You compare Elton John to King Charles, the third, I believe. Who has more influence? Who has more money? Who has more power? You tell me. Or take a rugby player, a star rugby player. You hear my gist. Let's get into sports. Now, what's happening now is, okay, they want the best players. Now, the best players happen to be people of color in the sport of football. And if that wasn't true, then the majority of the football players wouldn't be people of color, would they? But they are the best players. They're the biggest, they're the strongest, and a lot of times they're big, strong, and fast, and agile. So, that's who you get on your team. Now it seems that there's a brouhaha and a dust-up about the fact that people of color are getting more head concussions in football, and that's racist. Now, I don't know what you're going to do about that, because if you have the greatest majority being people of color, then they are going to get the majority of concussions. It's been an issue for decades now. But I thought I'd bring up that irony because they want to get rid of people of color in football. The wokesters, obviously. So we'll see how that plays out. Another thing is this transgender business. I want to touch on that real quick because I think I had an idea that might work. It'll mean changing the whole complexion of the games, but every team has to have a certain quota of females on the male team. So they do not have to be biological females, but they have to identify as females. Then I think you will see a lot more transgender male to female sports people being recruited, being enlisted. Biological women will still be out in the cold unless they're really good, and I foresee a lot of injuries, but it will make it fair. Do the same thing for baseball. Let's say 11 people. You must have 4 women, or what they call women, on the field on each team at any given time. They might be good receivers and stuff, so come on. Baseball, 9 people. Okay, 3 or 4 should be identify as female. You need to take all the sports. Maybe 2 out of 5 on the basketball teams. It'll make it fun. There'll be a lot of injuries, but it'll be fun. So I'll touch on, I'll leave that there because I wanted to talk real quick about movies, TV, and commercials. Now, movies. The main thing I was going to say about that was they want to be woke and they want to make movies that are woke. And the woke movies are big bombs. Now, let's see what the studio heads do. Because usually when you have a bomb, you don't try the same thing again. Even the whole genre might be thrown out the window for a while. So you have a movie called Bros, and it's a comedy. It's a light romp about 2 gay guys. Now that's great. And they're saying, anyone that doesn't want to see that movie is a homophobe. Now, I saw Rocket Man, and I saw Bohemian Rhapsody. And they were both excellent movies in my book, because I love Elton John and I love Freddie Mercury, and I knew they were both gay, so I knew when I went to see the movie that there would be a certain amount of that in there. And there was, and I have to admit that I wasn't that comfortable, because people are not comfortable yet with men getting in bed and kissing passionately. They're just not, and you can try to force the issue and say you're a homophobe, but people want to see what they want to see, and if they're uncomfortable seeing things, well, that's just the way it goes. I guess you could saturate the celluloid realm with nothing but homoerotic movies, and people will have to get used to it or just not go. So we'll see how they deal with that. Now, movies have always been a money-making operation. And if these movies don't make money, then stands a reason they won't make that many of them. But you can do it tastefully, such as Rocket Man. Sort of tastefully, I still say. And Bohemian Rhapsody was very understated. They did not get graphic. They had a few men kissing, that's fine. Alright. I didn't want to say much about any of these things, just touch on each one. Now, television. There was a day when, just like sports and movies, they want to create a television show that makes money, that's popular, that everybody watches. The more people that watch, the more money they get for their advertising that they put on commercials. They were unapologetic for many, many, many years about who they put on the silver screen. And many, many, many comedies and dramas had nothing but white people on it. Now, you look at Everybody Loves Raymond, or you look at MASH, 2 classic comedies. They didn't even have token people of color in there. They just had who they wanted to have, and that was it. Might have an extra, a nurse who's, and you would think that, like McHale's Navy, there'd be a couple people of color in there because it was World War II and all kinds of guys went in together. They didn't just, segregate mostly. So, they weren't apologizing about how they made their television show, what the cast was, or where they came from. Hogan's Heroes was a groundbreaker in many ways, probably the best comedy ever made in television history, at least American comedy. Not as funny as Fawlty Towers. But not only were they poking fun at Nazi Germany, which was unheard of, it had only been like 17, 18 years that the war had ended, 19. They had Kinchlow, who was probably the smartest guy of the heroes. He was an electrician, he was a telephone communications engineer, and he always could rig up things like eavesdropping devices. So not only did they have a main character be a person of color, but supporting character, but main part of the cast, but also made him the smartest. And I love Hogan's Heroes. Okay, so I didn't say anything. I wanted to talk about commercials real quick. Commercials are now, there's one segment of society that will be the whipping, identify as a boy, for probably a very long time. That is the white cisgendered male. The white cisgendered male will be the stupidest. He can't even tie his shoes. His wife has to help him. If he's with his friends, the friend will be a person of color who will tell him why he is stupid and what he should be doing. It's been going on for a while now, and it's obvious. If there's even a white cisgendered person, Caucasoid, in the commercial, if he is in the commercial, he is not going to be downgrading his mate, whoever that might be. He is certainly not going to be telling the person of color what kind of phone service to get. That's not going to happen. Now, the perfect society, as I see it after the conflagration, will be a society where everybody can insult everybody as much as they want, and it will not be called xenophobia, transphobia, racism, and name your phobes. That will be a great day in what used to be America, when everyone can just insult each other openly and freely. And maybe you even make a commercial where the white cisgendered identifies as a male is the smart one. Remember the George Burns show? And the wife, Gracie, was like a ditz. Nobody said anything about whatever. Misogyny. They didn't. It's a good show. It's going long because I had 4 subjects in there, and I think I touched on them briefly, and I think I said what I wanted to say. But let the jesters and gladiators continue running the show, and we'll see how society is in a few months. Probably be blowing up for obvious reasons. That's it. I think that was a decent one. I'm not that drunk. I haven't drank anything. So, enjoy. Again, I'm sorry for any awkward things I might have said last time. Enjoy the night, and thank you.